Yeah.
Guess what?
What?
I can do vaporwave with my voice.
Really?
Yeah. Listen to this.
How cool is that?
What do you mean?
How cool is that?
What?
Oh, wait, okay.
How cool was that?
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Damn, Daniel.
I forgot how you play the intro.
What's up, fuckers? Welcome to the Temporary Uncles podcast with me, your host, Aaron Hansen.
And me, the respect we have for our fans. I'm the physical embodiment of the love that we have.
Yeah, a meek Jew.
What? Meek Jew? What are you talking about, Nicholas? Stop it. Stop it. Get some help. Put the goddamn guitar down. I mean, it costs only like $100, but if you broke it, you would buy me a new one. And I haven't seen another one.
You haven't seen $100 from me ever.
I haven't seen you. I've never seen you and money in the same room before. I'm beginning to think that you actually are money, and that if you spend anything, then your life force will be drained.
I mean, no, it's the other way around, as I am not money, and I have a very little amount of it to my name, and I need to get a job, but no one's fucking hiring me.
It's I feel for you because it's genuinely tricky to be hired to do most things if you're A, over the age of 18, and B, unqualified.
And also can't drive.
Not yet.
I've got my learners.
You're beginning to rectify that situation.
I've had exactly 45 minutes of driving experience in a car park.
Yeah.
And the trickiest thing was moving from one car park to a slightly smaller car park adjacent to said car park.
Like where you parked in one park and then you tried to move
No,
across.
actually, no. The hardest thing was reverse parking.
Oh, yeah.
I've done that now at least twice.
Oh, nice.
I've ended all 3 of my lessons with parking the car. First one doing it forwards, and then the second 2 doing it backwards.
So were you with an instructor?
My mum.
Yeah, she's
had like 30 years.
I mean, like, she spends most of her time ferrying you to and from places, so she's a good driver.
Yeah, exactly.
She's an experienced driver.
And she's more patient than my dad, so it's
yeah.
Good idea. Okay, so the Oscars happened recently.
They did.
And by recently, I mean 2 days ago.
Oh.
And
Rami Malek won.
That was good.
Oscars.
Rami Malek won all the Oscars, every single one of them. No, Rami Malek won Best Actor, and I think he completely deserved it.
Yeah.
Like, had he not been Freddie Mercury, that movie would definitely have gone from good to mediocre.
Well, it just needed someone who was a great character actor and who can, pull it off. Like, if it was Daniel Day-Lewis as Freddie Mercury, that probably would have also been cool.
But, but I'm saying, like, a lot of the good qualities of Bohemian Rhapsody come from Rami Malek being a terrific actor.
I would say that, most of the things that make
but it's
the
also
film
just
good.
a well-made movie.
I mean, yeah.
Like, from a directing and editing standpoint and stuff.
Like, if
writing could have been better.
If you knew no things about Queen and you watched the film, I think that you would come out and go,
great! What I think of Bohemian Rhapsody is I think it's a good movie, but not a good biopic.
It is to Queen like what Mamma Mia is to ABBA.
Yeah. Except it's like actually about Freddie Mercury rather than about some person.
It's about Mermal Pep.
I haven't seen any of the Mamma Mias, so
I've seen Mamma Mia an oppressive amount of times because my sister went through a phase where she would put the disc in and leave it in the DVD player and it would just go constantly. And so when I would wake up, the first thing that I would hear would be like, I don't want to talk. And it would just be that, and I would come home and it would be like, gimme, and she did that with Hairspray too. So
Hairspray I've only seen once.
those two films have been burned into my brainium.
Yeah, your brainium.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Into my crane.
Green Book won Best Picture, and I'm like, at first I was like, how?
Actually, yesterday
But then I realized, because it's the safest movie out of all the nominees.
What is the
That's
what
literally
is it?
that's it.
What
well,
is the film?
Green Book is it's not a bad film by any means, but it's very traditional. It's like barely groundbreaking, but it's still a very well told movie, and like Bohemian Rhapsody wouldn't be nearly as good if it weren't for its terrific lead actors.
So what is the movie? What's it about?
It's about an Italian Italian American bouncer being hired by an African American musician to chauffeur him around the South as part of like a music tour.
Oh, like the Deep South, the Bible Belt.
Yes, exactly. Right. So he needs protection because he's black going through, and it's set in the 60s. So yeah,
because he's
sorry guys, I just had to bleep that. Ben said the N word again.
I didn't say it.
You gotta be careful. I have complete control over the show that we're doing right now. So who are they gonna believe, me or an actual like beep sound effect? What was that? I didn't hear you. You said the N word again.
Are you just going to insert beeps throughout this podcast when I say normal words? Me as a racist.
What was that you said? You're a racist? Oh man, that sucks.
You sound really bummed out about that to find out that I just so happens to be a racist.
You happen to be a racist. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I didn't like that film Green Book, which is about that lovely
have you seen
fellow.
Green Book?
No, I haven't.
No. Well, yeah. Mahershala Ali won Best Supporting Actor for it, and he completely deserves it. He's fantastic. He also won Best Supporting Actor for Moonlight a few years ago. Oh. That's good. He's a very good actor.
Yesterday I had my grandpa came over and he was sitting on the couch. And oh yeah, so Green Room won the Oscar, and I went Green Room with Patrick Stewart, and he looked at me and went, no.
Yeah.
No.
No. I love the idea of just people wanting to see Green Book and then accidentally seeing Green Room. It's just
a heartwarming tale about friendship and tolerance, and it's just about fucking skinhead Nazis in the backwoods of America beating up punk bands and shooting people. And
yep.
And Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
I would say.
And Anton Yelchin.
So you've made a face that they can't hear.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
can't hear your sorrow. Weep for me, bitch boy. That might be my sister. Hold a second. Shit. Hold that thought.
We'll keep it recording though. We won't pause the recording.
You can press P to pause it, but just let it roll.
Yeah, I will. So I guess while Ben's not here, I can just talk about things that I've seen by myself that he has no opinion of. I watched the new season of Twin Peaks, which was really good, really crazy. That ending left me both wanting more and not wanting more. It's just weird. I've also seen Vox Lux. I saw yesterday. Not yesterday, the day before. And that was good. I didn't know Natalie Portman could sing until now. So
What are you telling the children about?
I was just talking about things that I've seen by myself that you have no opinion of because you haven't seen them yet.
Seeing like shadows in the darkness that speak to you. They say, "Hey, I'm a rabbit.
Yeah.
And you should kill."
I am not your foot.
No, if you were, you'd smell a lot worse than. What was that?
Exactly.
That was like a glitch in the Matrix. I saw Lawrence Fishburne crawl out from the depths of your gab.
Robert Downey Jr. is staring at me.
I don't have a picture of Robert. I've got a picture of Imogen Poots, but I don't have a picture of Robert Downey Jr.
Who's that man next to the Predator?
What? Next to the Predator?
Yeah, the Predator. Above the Beatles and underneath Jimi Hendrix and Mick Jagger.
That's Eddie, who's the mascot of Iron Maiden, and next to him is the boss, Bruce Springsteen.
Okay, looks like Robert Downey Jr.
Before or after drugs?
And who's that down the bottom?
There.
Yeah,
That's Bon Scott.
Bon Scott. And then that's you've got Jim Morrison,
Yes.
David Bowie,
Yeah.
Bono,
Yeah.
Macho Man Randy Savage.
No.
Who's that?
Lemmy
Okay.
from Smash Bros.
Screaming Man.
Apparently that's Angus Young.
Okay. Slash.
Yeah.
Bob Dylan.
Yeah. Zimmerman.
Huh?
Is born Robert Zimmerman.
And then the other guy is
the Man in
Frank
Black.
Sinatra.
No.
Oh, who is it?
Johnny.
Carson. Cash. Then there's Elvis Presley.
Yes.
Um,
Gary Oldman has been this person.
it's something. It's from the Sex Pistols.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. Sid Vicious.
That's it. Sid Vicious.
Then who are those happy
It
fellas?
was and then Led Zeppelin.
You're wrong. That's one of the unholy trio.
Oh, it's Black Sabbath.
Yes.
Okay. There's no Zeppelin or Floyd representation in this triptych.
Yeah, well, I didn't make it.
Oh, you're flawed.
I just bought it.
And then there's Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
Who's next to him? It looks like.
He walks this way.
Yeah, it's the guy from Aerosmith. Yeah.
He's a dude who looks like a lady.
Yeah, I don't know the name of the guy.
Steven Tyler.
That's it. The guy from Aerosmith. And then Shane Dawson. No, it's Kurt Cobain.
Totes Ratar. And then if you get the top one, then I'll suck your dick.
I don't want to get the top one then.
Oh, then all right. That's Paul Simonon from The Clash.
Okay. What, like the guys who wrote Rock the Casbah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, London Calling. That's the album cover with like the guy.
Calling.
Who's
Oh,
going like,
that was in a movie I watched. I can't remember what it is. Anyway,
Bun-da-doo.
I'm glad. I hope the audience enjoyed me trying to guess the name of guys on the wall that the audience cannot see.
Yeah.
I will take a picture of them and post them to the Twitter page of the Temporary Uncles.
Now people know what my fuck dungeon looks like.
Your bedroom.
Yeah, that's what it said.
Okay. So anyway, back. I'll quickly list off just the things that I watched by myself that you haven't seen. So I already talked about the new Twin Peaks and Vox Lux,
Big and bouncy
which I saw in the
sluts too.
cinema the other day. I also saw Arctic,
Monkeys.
just Arctic, and it was directed by Mystery Guitar Man.
Ah!
Yeah, he's got a movie starring Mads Mikkelsen. It's about a man trapped in the Arctic by himself, trying to make his way to a base with another survivor from a helicopter crash.
Ah.
And it's like a harrowing tale of survival, and it's really good.
It's like I Am Legend, but with more ice.
And Mads Mikkelsen instead of aha.
Instead of yeah.
Okay.
Get jiggy with it.
And then I like ages ago, like pretty much the day I think that we recorded the podcast, I saw The Ballad of Buster Scruggs,
Okay.
which is really good, and it's on Netflix. You should check it out. It's the new Coen Brothers movie. It's like an anthology film. It's really good.
What's
It's like some of them are funny and some of them are dramatic. So yeah,
Are they all about
they're all set
Buster
in the
Scruggs?
No. Well, the first one is about Buster Scruggs. The first one is The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Then all of them are like 5 other tales of something.
Ah.
Which is what like the in-movie book calls it. It calls it like The Ballad of Buster Scruggs and 5 other tales. But the movie's just called The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
So it's like Layla and other love songs.
Yeah, something like that.
But they don't tell you what the other love songs are. You have to buy the album. Or just look on the back.
And then I also watched another Netflix series called Russian Doll. And that one was also very good. It's like a cool twist on the Groundhog Day genre of movies. Like just time loop, but like really cool. I'm not going to spoil anything else. I'm just going to say it's about a time loop because I think everyone should watch it. It's only about... It's like 3 hours, a little bit longer than like a 3-hour watch time because they're all about 25 to 30 minutes long, each of the 8 episodes.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not... It's an easy binge watch, I think.
I've seen something on Netflix that I haven't seen.
What'd you watch?
It was Sabrina.
Oh, the new Sabrina
The
series.
Teenage Bingus.
The Sabrina the Teenage Bink.
Yeah, the Screamy Bingus and the Crunchy Spingus.
Is that a real band?
It's a game
Oh.
made by Kroger Softworks. And the game is where you have to find the Bingus.
Okay.
And you can choose a number of different characters, and they've all got attributes of they've got like fucking stench, loudness, and all sorts of things, and they've all got special abilities like flirting or Bible studies.
That reminds me of this new game that Death Bulge made.
What's it called?
It's called Death Bulge, the game.
Okay.
And it's, yeah, you play as...
Do you just rub your "oh, what's this" on
No,
people?
it's like an RPG.
Rocket projector genitalia bulge.
Ben, you disappoint
Why?
me. You just do.
That I represent all the things that you fear.
No.
Your deepest fear is having a really big penis.
I already
And
have.
being able to do great impressions of Mel Brooks and Will Smith.
So like the opposite of you?
No, that's me!
Nah.
I'm describing me to you.
No, you're
I'm
not.
all the things that make you go
No,
eat.
you're not. Don't lie to me.
You've seen it.
I think back to talking about the Oscars. I think The Favorite should have won Best Picture.
Did it not?
No, we
What-
literally
what-
just said that Green Book
Green
won
Book did.
Best Picture. You fucking idiot.
Was it
You
nominated?
crunchy spingus. All the nominations, I think, like a few of them were worthy. So like, The Favorite, Vice, Roma, which I haven't seen yet, but I've got a really good idea that it's good.
Christian Bale won the Golden Globe.
Golden Globe, yeah, for comedy. For some
Best
reason.
actor?
For comedy, yeah.
Oh,
Best actor in a comedy.
Oh, so there's like actors
Even
for,
though-
for comedy, horror, action, drama.
Well, no, just comedy and drama. So comedy or musical and drama.
There's 2. That's it. So you could be the best actor in either in
Well,
one
yeah,
or 2
there's
categories.
a lot of categories in the Golden Globes, just like there are in the Oscars.
No, but I mean like it's neither they don't just go best actor full stop, but they don't do best
Because
actor
they
for
do
every
because
category.
they do TV and film, and so they do. I think they have best actor in like a film, or just best actor in a comedy or musical, and so you'll have comedic performances in film or TV,
Right.
and then dramatic performances in film or TV.
So it's best actor in either a funny or not a funny. Those are the 2
Even though,
types.
like, I think Christian Bale's performance was very dramatic and not at all comedic, the film itself is a comedy.
Yes, it was a dramatic performance,
Yeah.
but in a satirical context.
Like Jim Carrey in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. He's got a very dramatic performance in an otherwise, not necessarily, like bittersweet dramatic comedy film. But he's got the most serious performance in the film. And he's acting against, like dramatic actors like Kirsten Stewart and Mark Ruffalo, Elijah Wood, and Kate Winslet.
Is Kirsten Stewart a good actress outside of Twilight, or is she just like different flavors of cardboard?
I said Kirsten Dunst.
Did you?
Yes.
Can we review the tape?
Yeah.
I thought you said. I thought I heard Stewart.
I said Kirsten Dunst. I said Kirsten Stewart. I meant to say Kirsten Dunst.
Okay, Kirsten Kunst.
That sounds very naughty.
She is. You can't wink on this podcast.
I'll do the wink sound effect.
You're like Tony Abbott. You're on the radio fucking winking at people. But there were cameras that time.
Yeah.
She rings up and is like, "Hi, Mr. Abbott. I'm a sex worker and I'm living on a disability pension." And he fucking looks in the camera and is like,
Because he doesn't know how to wink.
and he looks directly in the camera and he's like,
Yeah.
like he's being smooth. It's like, you fucking idiot.
I mean, this is the same man who ate a raw onion.
Same man who said that George Pell was the greatest churchman that Australia's ever seen. And you know Bolt, Andrew Bolt. He released an article saying he couldn't have possibly done it because I met him and he's nice. He's my mate. He couldn't have done it. You go, is that so, Andrew? Great. Well, we'll take your word into account when he gets sentenced today. Not when this comes out, so it'll be sentenced last week.
Well, this might come out tomorrow. You never know.
Ooh. You're going to be a productive little boy. Bless you.
My head just blows up.
So what else were you saying about our friend Oscar?
So the other movies that were nominated, there was like Bohemian Rhapsody, Black Panther for some reason,
Really?
Black Klansman, which definitely was,
Which is good.
which is a good one, which definitely also deserved the win. See, the thing is, I think Vice and Black Klansman didn't win because they were political films.
Okay. I thought political films about black people were really popular. Like 12
I
Years
say
a Slave.
popular, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win.
Oh, okay. 12 Years a Slave won best
Let me
film.
finish. But I mean, Green Book's about racism, but doesn't get political. It talks about how racism is bad, but it doesn't get political.
Okay.
You know?
It's saying that like the South is a dangerous place.
Yeah.
Is that political?
Whereas 12 Years a Slave, it goes about how slavery is bad and all that stuff, but it doesn't get political.
I mean, slavery was like
As
a
in
state-sanctioned thing.
Modern day politics, I mean.
Okay, it's not about
You know?
like, well, Trump in Trump's America.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Black Klansman does.
Yeah, right at the end. It could have
And also
excused
Vice,
that.
too.
Oh yeah, it does.
But anyway, so the favorite didn't win because it was weird.
Okay.
Probably.
Has Yorgos ever had a film win?
I don't know. Every now and then, this is his first ever Oscar nomination.
Oh, okay. So everything else is just been looked
Dogtooth
over?
might have been nominated for best foreign film. I'm not sure.
Oh.
It's Greek.
Yeah. Yes.
But
That-
anyway, yeah. Every now and then they will give the win to like an innovative, weird, like creative film like Birdman, right? But sometimes they'll just give it to the safest film of the year, like Green Book, for example. So if you let me finish.
Yeah.
So Black Klansman and Vice didn't win because of their political nature. The Favorite didn't win because it's a weird, kind of surreal, off-kilter film. Black Panther didn't win because it was a superhero movie.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Look, Nick and I are recording in here, so if you're going to have a fight, which I prefer you not do anyway, I'm not going to argue semantics with you, Amy. If you're going to raise your voice, can you please just do it somewhere else? Please.
Yeah, you could have just said that. I agree with the boy.
The boy? They're funny.
Anyway, Roma didn't win because it was a Netflix film, I think.
Do they generally not get much
Well,
acknowledgement?
there's just, all these cinema purists who are against considering Netflix a legitimate production company, which they are. Same with for some reason they're more forgiving for Amazon Studios. I don't know why. But I guess because Amazon does tend to release their films in cinemas a lot more often than Netflix does.
Yeah.
So that might be it.
Do Netflix shows get acknowledged at the Golden Globes?
Yeah, sometimes. If they're really good.
Yeah.
But
Like Stranger Things? Or...
yeah. But a lot of Stranger Things, yeah, it does. It got a few Golden Globes and Emmys too. Emmys probably are more forgiving of Netflix than the Golden Globes are.
I only guessed. I didn't even know that was the...
Well, Stranger Things is probably the most like respected Netflix series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's good.
Yeah. There are a lot of good Netflix series, but like it's probably the most respected one. And were there any other? I mean, Bohemian Rhapsody didn't win because it's like I think because of Bryan Singer's allegations probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also because it's just not a Best Picture winning film. I'm surprised it even got the nomination, to be honest.
Well, it's probably because it's like famous dead guy, and it's also like a gay rights thing. It's also
true.
Also, just because I don't know. Did Adam Driver get a nomination for Best Supporting Actor
For what?
for Black Klansman as Jew-Man,
I don't think so. Let me check.
as Hebe Supreme.
Hebe.
Supreme.
Explain, please.
A Hebe is like a slur for like a Jewish person, like Hebrew. Like the term heebie-jeebies comes from it.
Really?
Yeah. You give me the heebie-jeebies. And, like, you're a heeb.
Yes, he was.
Oh, nice.
Nominated for best.
Didn't win?
No, I told you Mahershala Ali won for Green Book.
Oh, okay.
But she deserved it.
I didn't know that it was...
I don't think... See, yeah. I don't think Green Book deserved the win for Best Picture because it's the safest film of the year. That's why it won.
Did you feel that
But
there
I
were
think
performances in it that deserved
This
the
year,
award?
Best Picture was basically treated as a joke.
Why?
Not literally, but like no one took it seriously outside of the Academy because no one really gave a shit about most of the nominees except like Roma and The Favourite. Most people were just like, okay, yeah, these two should win.
So, like, most of the ones that were nominated were like, literally who?
Yeah.
Or literally what, in this case?
A lot of the nominees were just like, okay, that's surprising. I'm surprised that First Man wasn't nominated, or Widows. But Widows is, in and of itself, something, like, just a different issue. Like, because it was, ironically, it was marketed as, like, a prestige film. Where
Really?
it should have just been marketed as a heist thriller, which is what it was.
Yeah.
Granted, it's a fantastic heist thriller.
Yeah.
And it does have fantastic performances that were Oscar-worthy from Oscar-winning and nominated actors. And it has, like, themes about racism and equality and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's first and foremost a heist thriller.
Well, yeah, like, I was
And it is
surprised
really good.
when you told me how much you enjoyed it, because, like, looking at the ad campaign for it, I looked at it and went, this just looks goofy.
It just looks like Oscar bait, didn't it?
Like, it reminded me of, you know, the film, was it Tower Heist with Eddie Murphy?
Yeah,
I
but
just looked at it and went,
that's a comedy.
this looks like a B-grade fucking, like, we're gonna do it, girls!
But the thing is, they marketed it as like an Oscar baity film when it wasn't, you know? It was ironic. They marketed it because they really put emphasis on, like, from the director of 12 Years a Slave, you know?
I didn't even remember that, I was just,
And, like, put, like, Academy Award nominee or winner, like, above everyone's name and stuff.
I suppose
And then
they
the trailer just, they put a lot more of, like, the rights speeches and stuff in the movie rather than just, like, having the action and stuff.
Yeah, well, I have a less sensitive bullshit detector when it comes to Oscar bait. I didn't look at it and go like, yeah, well, they're fishing for an award here. I just looked at it and went, this doesn't look exciting.
Well, see, I looked at it and saw
Viola Davis.
Steve McQueen's name and then Gillian Flynn's name,
Right.
the writer of Gone Girl.
Oh, okay. Well,
And
I
I'm
didn't know
like,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I saw, like, okay, there's a lot of really good female actors in this. There aren't that many, like, action-y movies with, like, a female ensemble cast that are actually good.
Was she the original author, or did
Gone Girl,
did
yeah.
she write the screenplay?
Both.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
And she wrote the screenplay for Widows, and I think the book was written by someone else, but she wrote the screenplay for Widows.
Right.
And she wrote the book and screenplay for a HBO series called Sharp Objects. So,
yeah. I've seen the trailer for that, which looked very good.
And there are a few other nominations and stuff that I think were wrong. I think another film that should have been nominated for Best Picture was You Were Never Really Here, but it wasn't necessarily a big film, so I get why it wasn't nominated. But First Man, I'm just really surprised that wasn't nominated, honestly.
Did it do well?
It won Best VFX. That was all it won, I think.
Oh, okay.
But like, I'm surprised that You Were Never Really Here wasn't nominated for Best Director or Best Editing because it deserved both of those wins. Although, I mean, Alfonso Cuarón won Best Director, so I'm fine with that.
Oh, yeah.
But pretty much, like, every other award in the night was like, yeah, everyone was happy with all the other awards except Best Picture. There weren't any real, like, outrages or anything like the year beforehand where, like, everyone was like, no, Baby Driver should win Best Sound Editing and stuff. But they gave it to Dunkirk because it was Christopher Nolan.
Sometimes I forget, like, when the Oscars or the Golden Globes come around, like, what films are in consideration. Because, like, I feel that Baby Driver was something that I saw quite a while ago.
Baby Driver is a movie that was like, oh, you wouldn't have expected this to get any Oscar nominations, but it got editing and sound mixing and editing.
Because I'm just thinking, like, yeah, with 2019, which is the year that it is now, and I'm trying to think about when Baby Driver came out and when I saw it. Because I wouldn't have been like, oh yeah, that's a this year film.
Yeah.
Because it
That's a
feels like a while
2017
ago.
film.
Okay, well there you go. So it wasn't.
I said it was nominated last year,
Oh, okay.
which means it came out the year before.
Right.
So the films that were nominated this year came out last year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'll listen.
Now, you were getting ready to talk about Donnie Darko, I think. 'Cause
I was-
you
I
were
was
reaching
looking-
for the DVD
I was
case.
looking
over
at
there.
it to see if it had like a Oscar nominated whatever film,
Well,
because I could
no.
be like, you know what else was there?
because that movie was an indie film in 2001. Indie films really didn't get any Oscar recognition until quite recently. Birdman's win, I think, was a huge step forward for indie films. Although, to be fair, Birdman's got a lot of A-list actors in it, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Despite
Despite being an independent film.
I take it that neither of the Gyllenhaals were known at that
In
the time.
2001?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, didn't think so.
Yeah.
And Seth Rogen, like, he wasn't known either.
No, but you want to talk about Donnie Darko? Because you just watched
Yes,
that
I do.
today.
Yeah, I've gotten. Yeah, I was. Yeah, hoping
You've
to
had
be
it
like,
borrowed for a while.
Yeah, so as I do have an announcement that is, I watched Donnie Darko.
Finally.
I've had this movie in my.
The director's cut, specifically, for anyone wondering.
Do you know
The
what
one
the
with
major things are that are
the
missing?
one with In Excess in the beginning of the film.
Also, is
In Excess isn't in the theatrical cut, apparently.
why?
I don't know.
Just
I thought it was perfect choice.
yeah, I didn't know that song was in the film because my interest initially for the film was the fact that I knew that Head Over Heels by Tears for Fears was in the movie because I saw the trailer of it years ago and I was like, what is that song? And I spent years looking for what that song was.
But they had Mad World as well.
Yeah. Well, at that
But
time,
not the Tears for Fears. But
yeah, at that time I knew Mad World by Gary Jules.
Yeah, which
but
is the
I
one
didn't
in the
know
film.
that was their song.
Yeah.
But I knew that song was in the movie. But I heard Head Over Heels, and eventually I figured out what that song was. Got right into Tears for Fears, and then I'm like, okay, I want to see the movie now.
I feel like Donnie Darko is like David Lynch for kids, honestly.
Okay.
You could consider it like a beginner's like entrance into surrealism.
Yeah.
You could consider it
Into weird
because
shit.
it's a cult classic film. So it's it's a film that didn't do amazingly well when it came out, but it got itself like a really popular following, and it's become like one of the like big like highly regarded films. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, Donnie Darko is this fantastic film. And it's one of those films that's like it's amazing when you watch it when you're young. Like it's groundbreaking. It's a fantastic film. Or like even just the first time you watch it. But like and I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm just saying I don't like it as much now as I did when I first watched it when I was like 15, you know?
I mean, I think that there is a lot to be said for people that for young people that were suffering any sort of mental illness.
The word pretentious comes around a lot when people talk about Donnie Darko. So.
I mean, a little bit, but it's not. I think that it's less about like, I'm a weird kid. Nobody knows. It's because Jake Gyllenhaal's character Donnie Darko isn't about like, yeah, well, I'm a little bit different.
No, like
I grew up in a weird school, and I'm a weird person. It's like he is a vehicle for a demonic doomsday reckoning. It's not just about him being a little bit odd.
He's not portrayed as like, oh, I'm the weird kid, I go against the norm. He's like portrayed as like actually depressed and stuff.
He's like he's trying to just sort of go about his day, but he's also suffering like paranoid delusions and
probably some or other mental disorders.
And and waking up and finding that he's done all sorts of things that he wasn't hoping to do.
Yeah.
And so, but the thing is, you can have that and have it be this own paranormal plot. But I feel that the people that feel that there is something a bit off about them can watch it and relate in a way. But it's also, I was saying to Nick earlier that I think that one of the best qualities that a thriller or a horror can have is comedy.
Or at least comedic moments.
Yeah, and not as in being like not like Zombieland or like Shaun of the Dead, which is a real mix.
They are actually just a comedy.
It's about having a horror film which has moments that catch you off guard. So it's not about being like, wow, I'm a funny guy, or look at how diverse I can be. It's about putting the audience on the back foot. Because if you make the audience laugh, you've got to be... Because the way that humor works and has evolved is that humor is about dissolving tension, about going, that was odd, let's just sort of take that in for a moment. And then when they hit you with something that's genuinely terrifying or is meant to be scary, it's scarier because you just moments before you were enjoying yourself.
I think some movies take that comedic philosophy a bit too far. An obvious example that comes to mind are the Marvel films that that get rid of almost any and all tension that they can by punctuating a serious scene with a punchline or a joke or something, which is a philosophy started mainly in the Avengers. Joss Whedon specifically said that that's what he aims to do, is that he doesn't like tension for some reason. He believes that all serious scenes need to be punctuated with a joke to keep the audience involved or something, some stupid shit like that. But there's like genuine dramatic tension in Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America, and especially the Incredible Hulk. But then there's like no tension at all in the first Avengers movie.
Well, I think that's the easiest way to bore an audience, because if you
no, that's the thing. Audiences fucking love it. And that's the problem, is that people don't seem to realize that, like, I mean, obviously there's a lot of people who go, oh, they just kind of forget about the movie a week later. But then, like, that's not a good thing. Like, and that's why I love the current DC movies, even Aquaman, because it, while having a lot of jokes, never punctuated its serious moments with one. It had its serious moments and took them seriously and did it right.
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok, I think, could have benefited from having maybe one or two genuinely serious moments. I mean, the destruction of Asgard is taken mainly seriously. The taking over of by Hela and stuff. But then there's like the actual destruction of Asgard at like the end of the film is played for laughs. And I think they ruin it.
Yeah, well, I think that with films that...
I mean, the film's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
That's good. It's like good comedy. It's not like cringy comedy coming out of serious situations like Captain America Civil War, unfortunately, does a lot of.
Yeah, well, it's just that I think that with, as far as your themes and with, or genre, you've got to be able to, you've got to pick what your climax of the film is going to be. Because if you have a comedy and you build up and it's meant to get funnier and funnier and zanier, then you can reach a height and then come back down and leave the theater going, that was very funny, I feel it impacted me. And if it's tense...
Back to just quickly on the comedy thing. I think a lot of comedies unfortunately ruin it, where in the ending they get too serious because they feel like, oh, we have to have like an actual genuine emotional climax now for the audience to feel fulfilled. And so like they start like actually building dramatically on the plot lines and stuff.
Yeah.
Like a lot of mainstream comedies do that, where they just get serious in the third act. But I think a great movie that doesn't do that at all was Game Night.
Okay, yeah.
Which you still need to watch, don't you? Yeah, Game Night is probably one of, if not... it's definitely the best mainstream Hollywood comedy to come from last year, right? And it's probably one of the best mainstream Hollywood comedies in a long time. It's just fantastic because it doesn't take itself too seriously, but the tension of like, because it's a comedy mixed with like an action thriller, and so the action thriller stuff is played both seriously and comedically. So that it's never just like, oh, serious scene, comedy scene, serious scene, comedy scene. It can go seamlessly between the two, but the tension is still there because there's this constant threat of death throughout the whole movie. There's this constant tension throughout the whole movie, even during the comedic scenes, because they're in the middle of a car chase. They could die at any moment, but it's still funny, you know?
Yeah, well, I think that's where it's sort of dangerous to play with a mix, because if you have where it's, you know, consistently one or the other, then you can kind of have one of those things, whether it's, you know, levity or tension, build to a peak, and then you can go, all right, well, that impacted on me. I felt there was an intense form of, be it levity or tension.
Yeah.
But if you have something that is, you know, meant to be semi-serious and you punctuate it with jokes, then not only does it take the teeth out of all the tension and makes it non-threatening because you know it's going to be punctuated with jokes.
Yeah.
So you see a threat and you go, oh, well, it's nothing. It's going to be funny now.
Yeah.
And it also, usually those films aren't that funny. They're humorous because they have jokes, but they're not that funny.
Like
so it just
Marvel
makes,
films.
a lukewarm mush, as opposed to if you have something that's very scary and makes you feel terrified, or something that's very funny and is hilarious. So I like if you can have films that are consistently both, where you go, okay, I like these characters, they're funny, but also I'm scared about their safety.
Like many of Sam Raimi's films, for example, he does an almost perfect mix, not just in his Evil Dead movies, namely just 2 and 3, but also in the Spider-Man trilogy. There's a very good mix of comedy and drama.
Yeah.
You know?
That's definitely the like what I'm thinking about with Donnie Darko, where you have something that is consistently tense but has moments of levity to offset the audience.
But yeah, the moments of levity are mainly just character moments, aren't they? They're not necessarily there for us to find funny. It's there for the characters to also find funny.
Yeah, well, you have
and that's the thing. I think that happens in a lot of movies where like, oh, there's just a good opportunity for a joke that won't lessen the tension, so let's do it. You know?
Well, if you have like Ash in the shack and the furniture's laughing at him, that's sort of a moment that you step away.
What's good about that scene is that some people think of it as absolutely terrifying, and some people think of it as incredibly funny.
Because it's meant to be absurd. It's meant to go, well, this isn't quite dangerous, but it's unsettling. Because these things could become sinister and attack him, or it could just be a joke. Yeah. But ultimately we go, it's odd, and it's at odds with the violence. Yeah. Because, a disembodied deer head laughing at Ash and then him laughing back, sort of, it brings us into the joke. If he doesn't laugh, then it's like, okay, this is meant to be disturbing because he is disturbed. But then, like, he reflects the levity that we're meant to feel.
But then we clearly see that he's not right in the head because of the way that he's laughing. He laughs directly into the camera as well.
It's because it's so odd. They go, okay, well, this is nuts. But then you're thinking, well, what's going to happen with these things? Because they've set up an expectation that this house is going to attack you.
Here, one good example of a film that is both dramatic and comedic is The Favourite, which we watched not too long ago.
Well, it's because a lot of that, I think, is because of the setting, and because, like, Englishness is meant to be that there's like a gaiety to Englishness and to like the big castles, the big wigs, the big dresses, but also because of how much power there is in monarchy and in hierarchy, people are constantly trying to murder each other to get ahead. And so there is a sinister edge to people that are like the career politicians of their day. Yeah. But also there's a huge fat queen who's had a stroke and eating cheese and having a tantrum, and there's bunnies and all that.
And there's a good balance, because the things that we laugh at are usually things that are meant to be taken seriously. Yeah. There's a lot of absurdity to the film that makes it both funny and dramatic at the same time. And it's incredibly well... Yorgos does that very well, I think, in a lot of his other films too.
He's the king of discomfort.
There's a weird, darkly comedic tone to the killing of a sacred deer in a lot of scenes as well.
Because like the kid who keeps popping up is kind of an odd kid. He's just like
it's even just the way that people talk to each other a lot. It's like, my daughter started menstruating recently, you know?
She's got pudding breasts.
Yeah. That kind of thing. Like you laugh at the absurdity of the situation.
Because it's weird, but then also horrendous shit happens to him and his family.
And The Lobster, I think... Well, I'd say, honestly, the Favourite is probably the most comedic of his films.
I think it's the most accessible, but as...
Oh, definitely. Definitely the most accessible.
And I think it's the most outwardly funny. I think that when you watch The Lobster, there's a lot of things that are funny in there just because they are so odd, because they're in this world.
Although from a filmmaking standpoint, I do think that the Favourite is probably the most surreal of them as well. It's both the most accessible and the most, like, cinematically surreal because of the way that it's made. Whereas, like, The Lobster is shot in a very bland, traditional way.
Okay, cinematically, it is.
Cinematically, yeah. Although, like, writing and performance-wise, and it definitely helps because of all the awards recognition it's got, too.
Well, I'd say that absurdity is really... It's about a point of difference. So when you have a world, you go, there is this hotel where if you don't hook up with someone, you turn into an animal. Suddenly, the baseline for what is considered weird is quite high.
And the thing
is... you have to really push beyond that to be weird. But when you go, okay, it's a castle, it's in a historical period, it's about a person who did exist,
Yeah.
the threshold for what is weird is a lot lower. And so if you go and you have the camera tilt all sorts of directions and you have people throwing oranges at each other,
And you have some
that's
weird
already
amalgamation of bunnies taking over the screen
Yes,
at the end.
already that is quite weird. But if you had that in, say, Killing of a Sacred Deer, that would be relatively benign compared to a lot of the horror, strange shit that happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's just about comparisons and about
yeah.
yeah.
But I love that film though. The Favorite. It was fantastic.
I enjoyed it greatly.
Oh yeah.
'Cause
I really like
Yorgos.
Yorgos, and I think that if there's anyone to take over from like a unfinished Kubrick script, for example, it could be Yorgos. I think he'd be a very good example.
Well, because both Yorgos and Kubrick are able to produce great tension and great terror, but also great comedy.
Yeah.
Because you watched like
Well, Clockwork Orange, for example.
yes, that was well that is quite disturbing with moments of goofiness, and then you watch something you watch Doctor Strangelove, which is all goof.
Yeah, but that's probably his most outwardly comedic film, whereas the Clockwork Orange is a film that could be taken as both seriously and comedically. It is very much, it could be taken as a dark comedy, but it also could be taken as a serious drama.
Because it's got lots of pomp and silly trousers and and big noses and things, but also there's like rape and
Ultra violence.
yeah.
Do you want to talk about Ninja Sex Party?
Oh god, yeah.
There's absolutely no segue, but we're just kind of done talking about movies.
Yeah, so Nick and I, we went to see Ninja Sex Party on their first Australian tour. Their Going Down Under tour.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had a great time because I was both in great anticipation of NSP and their backing band Tupperware Remix Party, who were an intense funk band from the
techno funk,
the 80s and the future and outer space and Canada.
Yeah. I see. Yeah, I never really listened to a lot of twerp, and apart from Ninja Sex Party stuff.
Yeah.
And after that concert, I'm definitely listening to a lot more now. Like, I've been listening to just more twerp, and also I've been listening to more Ninja Sex Party as well because I realized there's a lot of songs that they performed that night that I hadn't heard. Mainly just two, because the ones that there was like two Ninja Sex Party songs they performed that I hadn't heard before, but then there were also a few songs that they performed in the Ninja Sex Party section of the concert that weren't actually Ninja Sex Party songs.
Are we talking about The Hit and No Pants Dance?
Exactly.
Well, they're crossover ones. Well, they're twerp songs featuring NSP.
Exactly, yeah.
But I really wanted those two songs.
Okay, because I hadn't heard them before, so yeah, I absolutely loved it, and I listen to them a lot more now.
And for their encore, they played "Land Down Under" by Men at Work.
Well, that was their first encore. Their second encore was The Hit.
Yeah. I was getting a little bit anxious, thinking that they weren't going to play it. And then
I knew they were going. I was like, yes.
Then they played The Hit.
But like, that was absolutely one of the best experiences ever for me, because I've never gone to a concert before.
Really, that's your first?
That's my first ever concert. That's a heck of a first concert. I'm not counting Wiggles concerts that I went to when I was 4.
Yeah, I have been to the Wiggles.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the Wiggles. I just buried my face in my mum and just didn't watch.
I mean, yeah. When you said I didn't watch the Wiggles, I thought you meant you didn't watch them as a kid.
No, I went.
But to be fair, I watched
show.
a lot more High Five than I did Wiggles as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All OG High Five.
Yeah, OG. Well, I watched second gen High Five as well, and then then I became too old for High Five.
I've got some VHS tapes of High Five in the drawer.
We've got some VHS tapes of the Wiggles. So
fucking Star Dreaming, man. Get some culture into you.
Star Dreaming.
Yeah, that's a High Five VHS tape.
Okay.
I've got it somewhere.
Oh, Ben has escaped from his seat and is looking for a High Five VHS tape for some reason. For some reason, he has it in his bedroom, which is where we were recording. You can move that speaker,
Yeah, I could.
Oh, cool, Fantasia. I haven't seen that movie.
It's probably behind.
Oh, the Hooly Doolies!
Yeah.
And Bananas in Pajamas.
Have you seen
Shrek? You've got a lot of VHS tapes that I have.
There we go.
You've got a lot of VHS tapes that I happen to have in my house as well.
It's because you can do it. There you go. This
I've got that one.
This is culture, right? This is Australian life in the early 2000s.
Oh, can I remember their names? Charlie, that's it.
Charlie,
Nathan?
Kelly, Kathleen,
Nathan?
Nathan, and Tim.
Tim.
Yeah.
One of the few like kids things that has more females than males.
Yeah, there are 3 ladies in it. And then...
One of them looks like that one looks like a Spice Girl.
Yeah, well, that was just the time. That was just then. And Kathleen was replaced with a woman called a
Son,
who, because Kathleen had a
At
baby.
least they always replaced the Asian woman with another Asian woman. At least.
Do you feel that's more or less appropriate?
I think it would be inappropriate if they had replaced her with a white woman.
Or is that whitewashing high five?
Yeah.
you champion the rights.
I'm saying people probably would have noticed something weird had they replaced the only minority in High Five with another white person.
She was my sexual awakening when I was fucking 5.
I think every 5-year-old boy had a crush on Charlie from High Five.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah.
Or either of the other 2 women.
I mean,
They're all pretty.
yeah. I mean,
Their girls would have had a crush on the 2 boys as well.
have you seen Wind in the Willows starring Terry Jones?
No, I haven't.
It's good. Have you got a working VHS player?
I have a working Wait, keep that open. Keep that open.
Okay.
I want to have a look at what you've got
We got
and what I have.
we got Spot,
I haven't seen that. Do you have?
Atlantis: The Lost Empire.
Did you ever have? Oh, I've got that on DVD.
We got Shrek.
Goosebumps.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We got Shrek.
I've got Shrek on
I got
VHS.
that for like my 7th birthday.
I've got the Pokemon movie, the first one on VHS, but
Yeah.
not. You've got like episodes probably.
Probably
Wallace
and Gromit: A Close Shave.
A lot of the VHS tapes we have at home we've replaced with DVDs.
Oh, dude, I love
like
the Zoo.
Ice Age.
Dude, look, it's Monica from Play School. Have you ever seen I Love the Zoo?
No.
Yeah. Well, have you even lived? That's the question I'd put to you.
This is a great nostalgia trip for us. I'll point the mic in our direction. I'm pointing the mic in our direction.
The
now.
Lion King.
Yeah, Lion King and Aladdin. We've got those on VHS as well.
Aladdin.
And Ice Age. We've got.
Oh, Wiggly Safari with Steve. Is that with Steve Irwin?
You tend to have a lot of things that we have, weirdly.
That's weird, considering we both grew up in Australia at the same
Well,
time.
no, I'm saying like you have a lot of the like exact same VHS movies that we have, like Shrek,
We got Babe.
Toy Story 2. I guess these were all just like the big kids movies that came out when we were born, like Aladdin.
I got this for
Yes,
Christmas.
we've got Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory on VHS as well.
Alright.
That was on TV not recently.
For the win, man. We got Bear in the Big Blue House.
Yep, we have like one of those. We've got a few Wiggles ones and a few
Oh,
High
dude,
Five
it's
ones.
Keck. That's...
Fuck is this? Was this the High Five special, or is it just like...
No, that's Monica.
It's just Monica from High... I don't even know who Monica from High Five is.
No, from Play School.
From Play School. I didn't watch Play School when I was a kid. I was aware of its existence, but I barely ever watched it.
Ever seen Monica and George in the Magic Toy Shop?
I was a kid... When I was a kid, I watched the things that weird kids watch that weren't the most popular things. I watched like Round the Twist.
I wasn't allowed to watch Round the Twist when I was little. Mum considered it to be... Like, she was more like Fire and Brimstone Christian.
I mean,
when I was little.
when I said I watched Round the Twist when I was little, I said like the end of kindergarten to prep. Like that's when I started watching it.
Yeah, like when
Although
I was in prep, I couldn't watch it.
That was around the same age that I would be watching The Simpsons as well. So
I couldn't watch The Simpsons either.
It is funny. Like when I find out like what things my friends were allowed to watch. Weren't allowed to watch that I was allowed to watch as a kid, and then the other way around when I'm like a teenager and they're allowed to watch all these things that I'm not allowed to watch.
You're like a dirty heathen child because you
Like,
could watch Simpsons
and
Round the Twist.
Although honestly, I think Simpsons Round the Twist. I mean, I probably watched more Wiggles than I did. No, I watched more High Five than I did the Wiggles. I think.
Yeah.
Just because it was probably on TV more. But I switched from ABC Kids to Kids WB and Saturday Disney very early. So I stopped watching ABC very early.
Well, we never had Foxtel,
And then-
so we couldn't watch that.
Saturday Disney?
No, not Saturday. You said
Kids
no.
WB was on Channel 9.
Was it?
Yeah. Although that didn't come in until... Like, I used to watch ABC Kids like most kids would. And then I moved to Saturday Disney very early.
Yeah, well,
And then I moved to Kids WB when they stopped playing good shows on Saturday Disney because Disney stopped making good shows.
Yeah.
There's like Phineas and Ferb and that's about it. But they had, Ben 10 and Batman and stuff on Kids WB, and so I watched a lot more of that.
I didn't really watch that. Jack watched.
I used to watch like Kim Possible and Jake Long, American Dragon.
Yeah, I saw both of those.
Emperor's New School.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were on Saturday Disney.
Yeah.
But then then ABC3 came around, and I started watching a lot more ABC.
Ever watch Roller Coaster?
With Elliot Spencer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With hipster dude.
But that was after school, remember?
Yes.
Yeah. That was awesome. Man, this is just a weird nostalgia trip for all of us. And
I'm fucking old, dude.
we're not that old. It is weird that like I was working on a show that I'm working on for Channel 31.
Yeah.
I don't know what she's a producer on the show, and I only just found out that she was born in 2000. I thought she was always older than me, or at least my age or something.
Yeah. Well, there's a girl at my work
But think about it,
who's a
kids
supervisor.
born in the year 2000 turned 19 this year, so yeah, we are quite old, I guess.
Well, it's like I see people that I knew that were in year level or younger that come up to the desk to buy smokes, and I'm like, you're a child, and they hand me their ID, and it's just like, yep.
That doesn't mean anything. There were kids that were smoking in my high school when they were underage. So.
No, but you can't come up and buy smokes if you haven't got ID.
True.
And yeah, there are people that come in like with their boyfriend or whatever, and their boyfriend's like, yeah, can I get JPS 20? And I'm like, yeah, so if you both got ID, it's like, yeah, it's for me. And I go like, well, no, I need ID from both of you. He's like, yeah, she doesn't smoke. It's for me. And I'm like, no, sorry, man. And I'll turn away.
Like if she wasn't in the store, like he could still buy her the cigs illegally, and she could use them.
Yeah, if she waited round the corner and he came in and got them, that'd be fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not legally, but like...
No, but I wouldn't know. But if they come in with someone and I'm not convinced that they're an adult and they don't have ID on them, I'll tell them to go away.
That reminds me of when my friends and I we were going to go see A Million Ways to Die in the West in cinemas. And not everyone... Like, everyone was of the right age to see it.
Yeah.
But not everyone had ID, and there were a few people who were quite short or
Was it MA?
Otherwise looked youthful. It's a Seth MacFarlane comedy, of course it's fucking MA.
Well, I was gonna say, well, you didn't need to be like adults, did you?
But we all needed to have ID to see it, because we just happened to have the guy at the box office who was a stickler for ID.
Because the thing... Well, what if everyone's 15?
Because the thing... Well, everyone was of age, but the thing is...
But what 15-year-old's got ID?
He didn't care.
Yeah.
We either had to have a student ID or something, you know?
But what student IDs don't have your age on them most of the time? Like, I've got...
No, but if you've got student ID, it doesn't matter. He was a stickler for ID, and he wanted us all to have ID, right?
Mine did.
Yeah, mine does too.
Yeah. Because, it's just like, well, what 15-year-old has even got ID
all student
on them?
ID has the birth date on it. My RMIT university student card had it too. Which expires tomorrow. I am no longer allowed to use the Wi-Fi at RMIT tomorrow.
Well, you better go there and like torrent a whole bunch of stuff.
No, but yeah, so yeah, we weren't allowed to go in and see A Million Ways to Die in the West. So we got advanced tickets. We got tickets to see an advanced screening of How to Train Your Dragon 2 instead, which was definitely a better film.
Yeah, it looks like A Million Ways to Die in the West wasn't that good.
Yeah. Speaking of like crappy mainstream comedies, I recently watched Sausage Party.
Yeah.
It was crap.
Because I remember having a bunch of people in school that went to see it and they're like, oh yeah, man, it's mad.
Well, the thing is, it appeals to like the 15-year-olds who find a joke, anything to do with sex, funny.
So is it just bad? It's just a bad movie?
It's just like, from an animation standpoint, it's quite appealing.
Okay.
But from a writing standpoint, it's incredibly lazy. Not as lazy as the Emoji Movie.
No.
Because they at least attempted to
They
at least attempted to make a plot.
Yeah.
And there were a few good jokes in, like having Meatloaf voice a meatloaf.
Ha!
You know, it's
funny.
funny.
Like a Patrick Stewart's a poo.
Well, no, that's not funny.
Oh, ho, 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 ho. You look a little bit flushed there. Ah, I'm a poo.
That's the joke, is that they got a really prestigious actor to voice a literal shit.
I played Macbeth, you know. I'm a shit.
But yeah, no, I mean, Sausage Party, the thing is, like, when it came out, I was like, yeah, this is going to be bad, because the joke is literally, oh, look, we're cartoon characters and we're swearing. Isn't that crazy?
It's pretty funny,
but I was like, you know, I wanted it to do well, just so that they would be making more R-rated animated films. Because it doesn't happen a lot. There are barely any adult animated films or TV shows, and when they are, they're always a comedy.
Yeah.
Like I can't, and the thing is, the serious animated movies are usually made for like teens or kids, like something like Adventure Time or like a Studio Ghibli film.
Yeah.
Most of the time, good adult animation comes from Japan, and I'm not talking about hentai. I'm talking about like stuff like
I know what you mean.
like Akira, you know, or Perfect Blue, because Japan has a much bigger animation industry, I think. They make a lot more animation than pretty much every other country, or at least just quality animation. Because America pumps out a lot of shit, but Japan pumps out a lot of quality. Even just animation quality. Like the writing could be awful, but the animation's still really good.
Well, I think it's just because it's quicker to film live actors than it is to draw.
And I guess because Japan has such a good animation industry, they can get away with making a lot more risky stuff. They can get away with like guys with directors making their passion project in animation, you know, because
you can
they
imagine
have the
anything,
resources.
If it's drawn, you can kind of make anything up.
Pretty much,
as opposed
which is
to,
why I'm slightly annoyed that there aren't more animated horror films. There's like the only good one I can think of is Perfect Blue at the moment.
Because you know what's a real good way to ruin a horror movie? A bad CGI.
Well, I'm talking about like 2D animation even.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
another
like,
thing I'm annoyed at.
But I mean, as opposed to if you didn't have an animated
you mean like
film,
if it was live action?
Yeah, because to
or
make
even bad practical effects.
to make the big nasty, you can't unless you've got like a really great costume team. Then you've got to
like The Void.
Yeah, then you got to do like CGI monsters.
The thing is, and there are a lot of good movies that are unfortunately ruined by of the time good CGI, but currently now bad CGI, like The Mist. Or fuck it, I can't think of it. The thing is, there's not a lot of good big budget horror movies either, because a lot of the good, like even ones that have a really good production value, like It, for example, is still like a mid-ranged budget film. It's like 35 million, I think.
That's mid-range budget.
That's big. Like, see, the thing is, most big budget horror films are action blockbusters with like a horror twist, like Van Helsing or something like that, you know. Or Well, I don't think I, Frankenstein had a huge budget, but still, or something like The Mummy, you know, the new one, or even the old one.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's not a lot of like genuine horror movies with big budgets. Most. Like, even the ones that do... But that's the thing is Hollywood knows it's a tried and true tradition that horror movies do amazingly well at the box office. So you don't even need to put a lot of money or effort into making a film, and it'll get a lot of money. You'll find that a lot of, like, the low-budget films with huge box office returns tend to be horror movies. Because they can just stick a bunch of people in a house and move some things around and say, oh, there's a haunted house.
Yeah, it's a big spook. Like, I found that when I was doing media, a good portion of people that made student films did horror films.
Exactly.
And I don't know whether it's because, well, action is kind of out of the question, because unless you know someone who's good at, like, doing parkour, or you're willing to break a bunch of things, it's not doable.
And comedies
are tricky to write. It's hard to write good comedy.
The thing about horror is that a lot of people just slap a jump scare in and think that it's effective horror because it got a jump scare out of someone.
If you film at night and have like a spooky drone soundtrack, you put in some creepy piano and some violin that you found on Kevin McLeod's website, and then suddenly you've got yourself a horror starter pack.
Yeah, pretty much.
Say boo, horror film.
And also the thing is, it's another thing that is wrong with a lot of mainstream horror is that they're just jump scare the movie, you know,
which isn't clever.
Yeah, and the thing is, yes, it scares you, but then there's no more tension.
Yeah,
this is why a lot of I think like a really good horror movie that came out last year was the new Halloween, because you know it didn't treat its audience like idiots.
Yeah. What if it was just like if Jamie Lee Curtis didn't age well and just took her makeup off and just
watched
filmed
a good
That's scary.
I watched a good mainstream horror movie recently called Escape Room.
Oh.
There's a lot like I just went in thinking, oh, this would just be like a fun, silly horror movie to watch with my friends in the cinema.
Yeah.
And I was like, given the choice between this or Happy Death Day 2,
you don't want that.
I chose Escape Room because it looked like it had a much more unique style to it, and it did. Like, it had some really good CGI in it, and there's like really cool production value, And also, good acting from everyone around helps that there's only like 6 main characters. And yeah, it's just genuinely it's like a good movie. Not like it's no masterpiece, but it's not like awful or even really mediocre. It's just good, you know, just good fun.
That's what you
Not
want.
necessarily fun though. It's definitely and yeah, exactly like most good horror movies or even good action movies. It's tension that runs through the entire film. You know, there's barely ever a break in the tension because the thing is, they're in escape room after escape room. As soon as they leave this one escape room, they're in another one, and so, like, that's the one good way of making a really tense scene. Put a time limit for them to have to do the thing. You know?
And I mean,
Like Saw.
there is a bit of a self-defeat in that, where if you go, you have 5 minutes to do the thing, and it's like and it's in the first quarter of the film, you go, well, they get out of this. There's another hour to this movie. I know it.
But that's the thing, is that they do it, and then they're in yet another one. And we don't know how long it goes.
Yeah.
There could be 5 rooms. There could be 17 rooms.
Okay.
We don't know how long it goes, and neither do the characters. They think they think they've signed on to just a normal escape room.
Yes.
There'll just be like one.
But it's
or
escape room from hell!
1 or 2. But then, you know, they all, you know, die one after another in each room and stuff, you know? So it's good. And the Dale from Tucker and Dale's in it.
Dale!
The fat one.
Oh yeah. Oh, that movie, yeah.
Yeah, he was, and I didn't know he was in it when I went in. The only actor I knew who was in it was the lead actress who plays Judy in the new Lost in Space on Netflix. Oh. Yeah, she was good. And also the new Lost in Space was pretty good too.
Ooh.
Want to talk about Alvin Purple?
Oh yeah, I forgot that we saw that movie.
We saw Alvin Purple because I borrowed it from the RMIT library.
Yeah.
Because I was surprised that they had it there.
It was better than I expected. I thought it
Yeah.
was just going to be a film where just a dude gets his knob out every 2 minutes.
Although there wasn't really that much knob at all. There was a lot of boob.
There was a lot of lady nudity and a lot of like the dude's butt, but there wasn't really...
Which makes sense considering it was the 70s.
Yeah, there wasn't
But
like,
it was
hardcore like sex.
Yeah, but it was cool to like see like an old what was considered a raunchy comedy. You know? And that movie was definitely ahead of its time. To be perfectly honest,
Like, I don't think a movie like that would be on cinema now. I don't think that you could have...
Are you kidding me? That's like
just-
most of the comedy movies made in the 2000s were like that.
just straight nudity. Just
Like you know, most Judd Apatow or Seth Rogen or Wayans brothers films were just dick jokes.
Oh, well, you can have... Yeah, like, they can be, like, sexual, but I think that there was, like, more explicit
Well, I
sexuality.
guess, yeah. I mean, I watched The Hangover recently, and there wasn't a lot of nudity in that one.
Because there's a difference...
There is at the end.
between being like, you know, these nuts and being like, these two adults are going to engage in sex now, and like promoting the idea of like, yeah, people having sex.
yeah, I guess-
think that that's a pretty not American thing.
Oh yeah, well I mean, but the thing is, Alvin Purple is definitely an Australian film. You watch it and it doesn't really feel like it was made. It doesn't really feel like that movie could have been made in America at the time either. You know, like it's
too British.
Yeah, well, as in the Americans were.
Yeah,
Too
they
British.
were too British.
The film is just like out and out Australian, just full,
It's a different
you know?
Australia. It's not Australia that I've known.
Well, there were a few places in the film that I recognised because
like
it's
the
shot in Melbourne. Yeah. But I thought it was better. By no means a great film, but it was better than I expected.
Yeah.
Very silly.
Yes.
I'm glad that they didn't go with the original title of The Sex Therapist.
Yeah, I think that would kind of take the wind out of the sails.
Yeah.
Kind of reveal the plot too soon.
I mean, yeah, and also, I mean, it wasn't really a plot-driven movie. It was more about the character Alvin Purple.
Yeah, it was.
Because even the sex therapist part of the movie doesn't really come in until halfway through, and even and it's not. Yeah, pretty much just halfway through the movie.
And the fact that it's not just about, like, this man has sexed 17 different times. He struggles with this weird issue that he's always having sex thrust upon him.
It's very obviously written by a man and like, made by a man, because it's about a not traditionally good-looking man who is swamped with beautiful women and he can't do anything about it.
But the fact that he has a real problem with it, that he's not like, wow, I'm really enjoying all this adventurous sex, is the fact that he's like, no, go away, I don't, I've had too much, go, stop.
That's what makes it funny. I would absolutely hate the movie had it just been, you know, James Bond having sex over and over. And that's why you like the character, because that's why they chose a Graham He's an underdog, you know.
Yeah, because they apparently the idea behind it was that it couldn't be someone who was too attractive because it would just piss people off.
Exactly. Well, he couldn't be too attractive because it would piss off the men and also piss off the women, the women watching the film.
That he's this womanizing dude who just turns up like, hi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the women would just be like, we don't just, you know, fall to anyone who's got, you know, a strong chin. So he was just a dude.
I mean, it's made obvious that there's no real reason for this happening either.
Like it's a mystical thing.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing is, like, well, yes, it does objectify the female characters shown in it. It's not necessarily a sexist film. It does undoubtedly objectify the women in the movie because they're always naked and they're very attractive.
It's not artful nudity.
And it's not necessarily malicious in its objectification.
But it's
you know what I mean?
It's meant to be gratuitous. You sort of go, there are more tits.
It's tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
Objectification.
Yeah, they go, well, yeah, there are more tits than is necessary here on purpose, and we know it. We're not doing it because we think that we're smooth. We're doing it because it's meant to be smutty.
Yeah.
And he's meant to not be having a good time with the smut.
Exactly.
And that's where the fun is.
And it is fun. Because I was introduced to that movie through a documentary that I watched, and I linked to you, and it was
both watched.
Very good documentary called Not Quite Hollywood.
Yeah,
it's about the history of Ozploitation cinema,
and it was a lot that I didn't know.
Australian exploitation cinema.
Yeah,
and yet, I mean, even for me, there was a lot that I didn't know. I wasn't aware of like the huge boom in sex comedies that happened in Australia.
And you went to school for that?
No, I didn't go to school for film history.
You went to school for sex comedies. Though.
Film history is a thing that I do in my free time. Yeah. Whereas I went to uni to learn how to the practical work behind making a film, and that's why I didn't do the third year of uni, because it's all theory, which is stuff I do in my free time. So I think we're done with the podcast. Yeah,
I'm knackered.
So I think a quick message to everyone that this podcast is just going to be a monthly thing now, rather than the original plan last year to make it once every 2 weeks, because it just doesn't get enough reception for me to want to make this a bi-weekly thing, you know?
It's fun to do when we do it, but I don't...
And I feel like whenever we do it, we need to have another reason to come over.
Yeah, so if we
like
happen to be
for example,
out,
today we didn't just record the podcast, you know, and we never... Don't tell them, because it might not come out for like half a year because of my laziness. Anyway.
Maybe.
So I'm done. You done? Bye! Go follow us on Twitter @tempuncles and send us questions at tempuncles@gmail.com. See ya!